I'll just go over again. The rules have been set forth for the public hearing portion of this. We need to make sure that only citizens and business owners of Grand Valley will be allowed to comment. And what we'll need you to do is we'll need you to come forward to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, or name and business for the record. And we're also going to have you write it down on that clipboard and paper there. That way we can make sure the court reporter gets it spelled correctly and it in the record correctly on the report that she's writing. So we want to make sure, so probably print it, and that way she can read it and make sure everything gets spelled correctly. We are going to limit comments to 2 minutes. Usually we're generous on that, but tonight we need to really stick to that. So Alexis Barton, our city administrator, will let you know. She'll hold up a card when you have 1 minute left, and then when you're out of time, she'll hold up another card. And don't get offended, but I will probably tell you you're done, but we've got to move on. So don't want to offend anybody, but we got to, get going. Repetitive comments should be avoided. So if someone comes forward and makes a comment that you agree with, you just come up and say, your name and address, and say, you know what, I agreed with so-and-so and what they had to say. And then that's, all you need to do. And then comments should be limited to the evidence presented. The attorneys can object if they want to what you're saying, if they feel that it's not applicable to what we discussed tonight. I think they'll be pretty liberal on that since we're limited to 2 minutes, but they do have that option, and we'll have to, sustain or overrule that up here based on what we think. So, with that being said, then, where'd she go? She had the card. So I'll wait till Alexa gets back in here. Here she comes. That way we know. If you want to go ahead, Jeff, you can write your information down while we're waiting for that. And if we kind of want to form a line behind Mr. Coleman, you could. That way you're not having to write when you're talking, and he can just pass that clipboard back to the next person. If you just want to pass the clipboard back to the next person, we'll have them filling that out while you talk. All right, that being said, we'll open up this portion. Let you go first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the board. My name is Jeff Coleman, and I'm a resident here in Grand Valley at 1009 Northwest Hickory Court. I'm actually here on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce for Grand Valley as the president and representing the board. We would just ask the board to take a deep thought about this because we are in support of our local business, and we do come to you in support of the racetrack. So we just ask that you take really deep thought and understand the impact. I know that what has been said has been in reference to the legalities, but this is much bigger, and it affects a lot more than just Dennis and his racetrack. It affects our other businesses. So I would ask that you would keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, folks, I need order. I'm not going to be able to have classing after each one, or we'll be here till 6 a.m. in the morning, so sorry.
Mr. Mayor, may I make a request, please?
Sure.
Since we're still in a public hearing, I believe it would be appropriate if everybody who is going to be providing public comment be sworn in. And I think you can do that as a group.
It might be a good idea.
Okay.
All of those who intend to testify, would you please stand and raise your right hand so the court reporter can swear you in?
I do.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
I don't really need it. Nancy Taunton, 309 Front Street or 317 Front Street, whichever. I would like to say that we do know that Dennis has tried. I mean, he got to get a new water meter because he didn't know that the racetrack didn't have one. Hey, this is sad. I am sorry. There is so much being done with the people at that racetrack. I believe there was a gentleman that came from England, holy Toledo, to see the races. I want you to know we have donated $1,427, soon to be $500, to the food pantries servicing the people of this town. I want you to know, we have had Santa Claus go with his elf, give 2 gifts to every resident, and gee, I bet you there's only been, I know the chief went to the nursing home because I hauled him there. I go every week, I take him treats. It doesn't come from the city. It comes from the racetrack and the neighbors can. I want you to know who helped send a little girl to Florida that won the opportunity. It wasn't anybody here. The school district couldn't do it because if you do for one, you got to do for the other. And I like that term because, Mr. Cook, you know what? We get special dispensation being when the city has things going on, the noise level doesn't comply. The band can play all it wants to, and it's early in the morning sometimes in the summer, but they don't have to comply. Now, if you're going to do it, let's do it. You said yourself, one rule is for everybody. We need to start getting one rule for everybody. And I'm sorry. Get out there and go to your businesses and ask them what some of them think. I'm not trying to be mean.
Okay. Sorry, Anthony. Thank you.
She gets my 2 minutes too.
No, that's not, I'm sorry, Mr. Cotton, that's not allowed.
All right, but that's okay.
I've been told.
God bless the racetrack.
My name is Brandon Shroud. I live at 1301 Cedar Lane in Green Valley. When this whole thing started off tonight, it's been said several times by your city attorney that this did not single out one particular business, one particular person. But the whole thing tonight's been about singling out one business. That permit falls under 4 different businesses out here, but we're only talking about one. There's been, you guys have cited violations such as no flood signs, but the city's produced no evidence that those signs have not been there. When asked, under oath, they responded, I don't know if they've been out there, I don't know. Pictures have been put up of the signs that the signs are there. Other violations that have been pointed out, the noise, it doesn't specify what the noise is and how it's to be interpreted. You just can't go by one number. The city attorney tried to go after the guy that did the study about the time it was done in. But during that time, there's also things that work against the track. There was other races going on that night that was in the area, trains going through. That sound is all over the place. So, even though it's in a block of time, there's other stuff that also raised it. If you took out all that other stuff during the time, it sounds probably actually lower than what it is. I don't understand why we're here tonight either. The Citizen Advisory Board met almost a year ago, and it was none of them. They had the opportunity to revoke this permit then, and they all voted don't do it. They all said they need to go back and negotiate and work out something fair because they didn't want the track to leave the city. So I have no idea why we're here tonight, why it didn't go down that path. I feel like the Citizen Advisory Board, they represented the citizens of this city who clearly told them they wanted the track, and that's why they voted that way. We shouldn't be to this point tonight. We should be negotiating the permit and going on with it, not still rehashing it a year later.
All right, thank you.
Joe Burke, 227 May Bar Road. I'm kind of, as an observer listening to this, I'm really in a gray area. I feel like a big problem we got going on here is the city council is just as much at fault as what's going on as any. I don't think the noise level, the 65, where did you come up with that? I questioned that. I mean, you ride a motorcycle down here, and if, let's say, if Bikers for Babies cruise through town, you're going to be over 100 or more. I agree with the train. I live up on top of the hill. I hear the band. I'm just on the track side.
Thank you.
Norm Combs, 1008 Southwest Foxtail Drive. When that track first opened about 10 years ago under Mr. Evinger, I was annoyed because even with my windows closed 2 miles up the hill, it sounded like a herd of bumblebees with a bullhorn. But this year I haven't heard them. They've done something apparently to alleviate it, and I have no problem. One of the things, the council over the years have been fairly nice guys, and they really, hey, to see someone get cut off at the knees. And if anyone is going to drop the guillotine, it should have been dropped 10 years ago. And to echo Nancy, the volunteers at the concession stand, and you can ask Mr. Lichtig and me, volunteers are very important. Mr. Lichtig and I have raised probably $100,000 in the last 10 or 12 years working concession stands, and you're talking an old guy at the Chiefs game on his feet for 8 hours. And down at the Independence Event Center, it's 6 hours. It's a little easier. It's really important these charity groups have a venue, and it's great to have it here in Grand Valley. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Jim Blaine at Valley Laundry here in Grand Valley. Like I know most of you, and the great thing about you guys is I always thought there was like a lot of intelligence in this room running this city. And I think it's about time that we might start to really kind of reconsider, step back, take a deep breath, and like reevaluate this thing. I think like the city just coming down and clamping down, bringing in the dozers, is not necessarily what I'm going to be proud of like when I leave this meeting. And I don't think like the city should settle for such a nonsensical type answer. I think we should really look back, look at the big picture. There's no rules or regulations that say you guys, and I think Mr. Cook will verify this, has to do this now. And there's one more thing that I wanted to say. Mr. Cook, I'll answer your question. I'm not being paid this evening to be here, and all these people aren't either. It's because it's out of the heart and the passion for our city that we're here. And I don't think it will be looking bad at you or you losing face by using, not common sense, sir, but logic. Let's reevaluate this, look at the good that the track does. I'm not saying Dennis walks on no water, but the rest of us don't either.
Thank you.
Sean Library, 1407 Northwest Cedar Court. I heard, arguments from both sides. I have no affiliations either way. However, common sense will tell you, and common sense is a preponderance of, is what the majority of people would believe. And in this room, the majority of people would believe that 65 decibels is an unreasonable number that nothing could comply to. So on the sound study side, I heard mentioned that the city offered to co-pay and cooperate with the track to commission that study. My question would be, was the same opportunity offered on the initial study to the track to also participate and have input into that study? And if not, throw them both out. I also heard you want to take measurements from the property line. Well, the issue that I see here is that the noise level is based on your community, not at the property. So why aren't commissions being done in your neighborhoods where these complaints may be coming from? If you want to judge what the sound levels is, you don't do it at the track. You do it in your neighborhoods.
Thank you.
Good evening, or is it night? My name is Maureen York. I'm with EnviroStar Waste Service. I haven't heard tonight anything about the numbers of people that might be complaining about noise levels. Do you know how many complaints the city has received, if in fact you've received any, about noise levels?
I don't think we can answer questions, but yeah, I've gotten enough.
You have gotten a lot of complaints. Is it a significant number of your Grand Valley residents that are complaining?
Yeah.
More than half? Less than half?
Half, but
less than half, less than a quarter? My point, I guess, is that you can't please all the people all the time. You've got a valid, viable business going that's an obvious draw to this community, And, I think we ought to really consider all of those things too. And I agree with everything everybody else said too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm Tricia Picard, 503 Broadway. I'm afraid I'm one of those that complain. It's been a beautiful summer. Had the house open a whole lot. I can't get a TV over the racetrack. I always have to shut my house up, turn the air on. If I'm on the phone and my house is open when the races are going, people are saying, "Where are you? What is all that cars racing around in the background?" I've lived here for over 20 years in the same address, and I've had to put up with this ever since it started. And I think we're not getting, maybe not getting some complaints because we're tired of complaining. It doesn't do any good. It's gone nowhere. I'll admit it's gotten better, but it's still not good.
Thank you.
Lance Sheffers. I live at 32202 East Major Road. I own Sheffers Roofing Company, Sheffers Construction Services, Sheffers Architectural Sheet Metal, and Sheffers Investment, all here in Green Valley. My children go to school here. I have a vested interest in our city. Everything that I've heard here tonight, valid points on both sides of the table. The special use permit of 65 decibels is a unobtainable standard. Find a standard that's fair for everybody. If we're going to punish one business owner for it, we need to be fair for everybody, which includes the high school band, which I support, fair days, and I'm sure there's several other things. But let's not punish somebody that's trying to run a business in our town, bring an industry to us. We need to promote business in our town. One of the many things that I would like to see is more businesses in town to help support our tax base and support our schools. The last thing we need to do is be chasing people away from our city. Please find a compromise to work with Dennis. It appears, and I don't know him that well, I know him a little bit through our business transactions and to some support that he has done for our high school. But it appears that he's made several good attempts. Maybe not everything, maybe he's not perfect, but at least he's trying. And, I am a business owner. I understand how hard business is, how hard it is to stay in business. He spent thousands of dollars debating, adding things, when there has not been a clear-cut standard from what little I've seen tonight. Please work with him to find a compromise. I'd like to see the Speedway stay in our city.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak during public comment time? All right, seeing none, then we'll close public comment time. At this time, I will entertain a motion from the board to adjourn into executive session to discuss the legal matters before us. We got a motion from Alderman Johnston. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Schaefer. Any discussion on a motion to adjourn the executive session for legal actions? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Alderman Arnold?
Yes.
Alderman West?
Yes.
Alderman Headley?
Yes.
Alderman Scully?
Yes.
Alderman Schaefer?
Yes.
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
All right, we'll adjourn the executive session.